Hey, we got Drewz Viewz here, back for a little Car Tuesday, reacting to a cartoon, a Western style cartoon on a Tuesday, not to be confused with Anna Monday, where I react to an anime on a Monday. But today's quite the occasion, as I am on Legend of Korra, Book 4, Episode or Chapter 13, The Last Stand, the series finale. I'm rocking the pink polo. I guess I decided that's my series finale attire. So I had that on during my Steven Universe series finale. Although that was like the main series finale, I get there was Steven Universe feature, obviously. Go ahead and check those videos out if you haven't. You probably might have. They're a lot more popular than these Korra ones have been. But anyway, I have enjoyed Legend of Korra overall. And I'm excited to see what happens with the conclusion here. Now, I am going to start a new show then, since I want to keep Car Tuesday going. I've asked for recommendations in the past, including my last video. A couple people recommended things. So I've got that pulled up here. A recommendation for Voltron, which hadn't really been on my radar. I don't know too much about that. But also mentions Shira, which I have heard that's good. So I was considering that one. Also, someone recommended Ben 10. I've gotten a number of recommendations for that in the past. I think a lot of Steven Universe fans like that show as well, so I might honestly be leaning toward that as of right now, since that seems to be the most recommended. Teen Titans getting recommended. I don't know how I feel about that one. I think Teen Titans is like the DC superheroes as like teens or whatever. Maybe I'm getting that wrong, but yeah, I mean, I'll consider everything, but yeah, I like to keep it in the vein of something that has action, comedy, good world building. I definitely like that ongoing storyline and everything like that. And a lot of people also recommended shows like Gravity Falls, for example, which I've already seen, or Over the Garden Wall, which I've already seen. So I could always do like a reaction or something, but I figured people would prefer a blind reactions. But anyway, besides the point, right now we gotta get into The Last Stand. So last time they were fighting the big mech, the big iron giant with Kuvira's super weapon in it. I'm still thinking they're gonna get in there. Well, they did get in it at the end of the episode. I guess Korra, Sue, Lin, and Mako and Bolin got inside. Assuming the metal benders will try to like mess it up from the inside. And then Korra's obviously gonna have some confrontation with Kuvira here. I'm still feeling like the spirits have to be involved in some way because it's such a part of the show. I know they told Korra in the other episode they weren't going to help her, but I feel like the spirit or spirit realm or whatever has to be involved in some way. But we'll see, maybe not. And yeah, I don't know what Mako and Bolin are going to do inside the thing because they're not metal benders, but I guess they'll do something. Great prediction, right? They'll do something. And then what happened? Prince Wu was helping evacuate the city, so he was stepping up, or King Wu, or whatever he is, with his badger moles, which are somehow super huge, even though neither badgers or moles are that size in the real world. And even Pema was helping out there, so everyone was getting something to do. I also wondered where the youngest kid was, but I was told that there was like a quick scene where they got that kid whose name is Rohan, whatever. He was evacuated or whatever, so okay, I missed that. And yeah, we'll see with the last episode here, are they going to wrap up some of these like interpersonal storylines or things like that with these characters? I mean, Tenzin's whole family, I guess, there's 2 airbending masters already. I mean, I don't think any of the other kids are going to become that in this last episode, but I don't know if there's going to be any, if there's time even for a storyline resolving some of these things. Not sure, we'll have to see. Oh, Asami's father sacrificed himself last time, so to see if there's time for her to get into her feelings about that. I don't know if there will be, but I think it was the right move by him. He's got some redemption in the end, as I assumed that he would. So yeah, they were using the whatchamacallums, dragonfly. I don't think that was the name, but the machines that Asami and Varric had come up with. Oh, and Varric and Julie Moon are now engaged, so that was nice. And they got away, so they lived unlike Asami's dad, so I guess they'll be getting married. All right. yeah, I want to just pop right into it and see how we wrap things up with Korra. Let's do it. So, some cool action in that finale, which I enjoyed. The scene with Korra and Kuvira in the spirit realm there, or world, was good. It did tie them in together a little bit, how they're similar in some ways, like Korra was saying, because she's, when she was poisoned and then all that, her whole, feeling helpless from all that is like Kuvira being an orphan, feeling helpless like that. Both wanted to take control. Obviously, Kuvira took it way too far, but I guess she never had any parents to teach her better. And you didn't do a good job, Sue. Well, anyway. So, but she did, surrender there. She finally learned it, even though earlier in the episode she said she wouldn't surrender, but I guess she realized it was hopeless there. I don't know, or that she went too far, I guess. There's one thing about this finale, and I guess, I don't know if they wanted to, I think the creators knew this was going to be the end, because there was even a whole thing about money or whatever, I guess someone told me, and that's why that was like part of the reason why they did that kind of clip show in the middle of the season. But yeah, I wouldn't say I was completely satisfied with how all the characters' storylines were wrapped up, I guess. I don't know. I think what I'm going to do is take a break here, maybe come back tomorrow or take some time to sit with it. I do want to think about the series as a whole and like give my thoughts on the series as a whole, at the end of this video here. So I need a little time to think about it since I just, watched the end there. But I guess a couple more thoughts are just about what I saw. So I'm somewhat satisfied with the Kuvira storyline, or the wrap up of it, but I don't know. Especially with how the season started, which it was pretty interesting, I thought, with a lot of the political stuff. It did get a little bit simplified by the end. I guess that's maybe realistic or part of the point. When someone has, like, a dictator gets that much power, and they typically go overboard, and it just becomes like all about them versus everyone sort of thing. And again, maybe there's not as much room for all the different political machinations, but just with the way they set it up and with the whole Prince Wu thing and everything, yeah, I don't know. I might have liked something a little more interesting, and I do like the thing at the end there with Wu saying he's going to dismantle, I guess, the monarchy, because it does make sense. Like, they're fighting fascism, like, in service of the monarchy. It's like, we want the democracy here, especially with what I think the overall messages of the show are. So yeah, Team Avatar, so Bowler and Mako had their nice little moments here, but the talk between Korra and Mako at the end, I don't know, it's like we already knew that they were, all four of them I think are gonna stay, always gonna help each other out and everything. I know there was some friction with the season because she was gone for so long, Korra, but I think it's understood from what we've seen that they're always gonna go right into battle together, always have each other's back. And then with the very end, it was a nice little scene with Korra and Asami. Then they're going, I guess, together in the spirit world. I don't know, it's almost, were they like implying something romantic at the end there, where they were like holding hands at the end and like staring into each other's eyes. I don't know if that's what they're going for, but I guess, something like that just makes me want to be like, oh, I want to see like another season and actually see a relationship develop, if that's what they're implying, or whatever, even if it's not. I guess, yeah, I would like to see more of the Team Avatar all doing their thing. Maybe with some, it doesn't have to be, I guess, like the end of the world every time. So, I know that's obviously what happens with shows, that you need the big bad and, and saving everything. But I would like to see more of just everyday type stuff. I don't know, I guess what I'm coming back to is just, like some of the relationship stuff, or just some of the character interactions I could have used more of, I guess. And then, with Tenzin and his family, they had a pretty good story overall, I guess, especially with airbenders being back in the world and they're starting the whole thing. But yeah, I don't know if there was really anything to get. At the beginning of this video, I was saying, like, will stuff with his family be resolved? I don't know how much resolution was really needed, but yeah. I mean, Tenzin's character stayed fairly consistent throughout, but he did soften up a little bit. And then nice too that he said Korra did so much over just a few years, more than most avatars have done. And yeah, I guess I'm getting into some of the things that I want to think about a little bit more, so yeah, I will wrap it up here and just pop back in a second. Video wise, it'll just be a second to give us some wrap up on the overall show as a whole. And then, oh yeah, last thing, I guess I was thinking too then, is there going to be, I know there's like a live action Avatar coming, I guess, to Netflix or something, but it would be interesting if they do another animated version, another animated series someday. Like, I guess the next thing would be the new Earthbending Avatar, right? So that'd be cool. If they move it down the line, like I guess they would do, this is kind of like a 1930s-ish, 20s, 30s-ish setting. So maybe the new Airbender story could be, the new Earthbender story could be in the, like, more of the modern age, like how it is now. Interesting to think about. Yeah, I don't know. Well, I'm going to percolate for a bit and join me back, right? All right, I'm back. It's about 2 days since I witnessed the finale, the series finale of The Legend of Korra. You know, the sequel series to Avatar The Last Airbender. I'm now here in my Avatar state for this little series recap, series thought, so won't go too long on this. Just wanted to have a little coda, I guess, to my reactions here, and give some more of my thoughts after I thought about the series as a whole. And, you know, I'm going to compare it, I guess, to Avatar The Last Airbender. It's kind of hard not to, and I don't want to make it all about that. But I did write a couple notes down that, like, comparing the two. So I did enjoy Korra overall. If The Last Airbender is an A+, which I basically think it is, or at least an A, I would say Legend of Korra is like a solid B. It's a good follow-up effort. It didn't quite hit the lightning in the bottle that Avatar did, the original, and I think there's maybe a couple of reasons for that. I mean, one thing is, you know, it's always harder to follow things up, usually is at least. So, you know, people have expectations, including myself, you know, and it's not like I watched this series when I was a kid or anything. You know, when it came out, I was already, I think when Avatar Last Airbender was originally airing, I was probably in high school at least, maybe into college even. And then I guess Korra was a few years after the end of that, but it's not like I watched that growing up and I'm like, oh, this isn't as good or something, what I'm used to. But I do think there's a couple structural elements that were really working for Avatar that Korra didn't quite have. And now some issues I think were apparently due to, like, network meddling and things like that. Apparently someone had let me know, I think, that season 1 they thought they weren't going to get renewed or something, so they, like, were wrapping something up, or they, because that season did kind of end with, like, the storyline of her getting her bending back once it had been taken away. And initially the showrunners, I think, had an idea that each ensuing season she'd be getting one element back or learning it again or something, so that could have been interesting. But you know, I guess they couldn't do it. And then I even had mentioned in recent episodes, or with season 4, you know, there were some issues in terms of, like, money and things like that. So I don't know how much all of that had a part to play in the finished product, but one of the elements from the original show I think that was you know, a little better was that I guess it just did have a more cohesive story and build up, and there was, like, an overall goal for our protagonists that we became aware of fairly early on. Comparing it to Korra, it was a little bit different. There certainly was built up storylines and character development, but each season, I guess, or book as they call it, felt maybe a little different. It was more of like a big bad of the season, you know, villain of the season type of deal. Whereas I think Avatar really had working for it the kind of recurring antagonists, which included, like, you know, the whole storyline of Zuko switching from a villain to a hero, essentially, joining the team. So that was really great. And there was a consistent team dynamic, like, you know, the initially the three characters, and then adding Toph as a fourth character as the original team Avatar. You know, they were always together for the most part, and they were moving from like place to place, so they're showing a lot of the world. So I really thought that was good from the original. Yeah, and even with some of the characters, I missed kind of like the sarcastic, sardonic edge of some of the characters in the original, like Sokka and Toph specifically, I would say. Whereas with Korra's crew, I still like the crew overall, but like Bolin is a little more broadly earnest and things like that, which isn't my favorite character type necessarily, even though he did lead to some good humor. I don't know. And then I can get into Asami in a little bit, but I feel like she overall maybe was a little underserved throughout the series, in my opinion. Basically, I liked her character a lot. I would have liked to see more of her. But yeah, it was the thing with Korra where they weren't always together all the time, which is fine. Like, it doesn't need to be always the same. You know, everything needs to be the same as the first, but or what worked before. But I probably would have liked more of it. And then I guess just the last thing, maybe some more with some of the main characters in Avatar. There was a little more drama, pathos, like some like tragic backstories and things like that, which led to good character development and some good elements, some good excitement, I guess. But yeah, to turn the focus back to Legend of Korra, like I said, I do still think it was a good show overall. With the seasons, you know, individually looking at them, I would say season 1 had probably the best storyline overall, story arc, all of that, most interesting. And that's the one season I didn't react to on my channel here because I had already seen it. And it started with season 2 on the channel here, which is definitely my least favorite, I would say, by far. I already talked about it with some of those reactions, but I didn't prefer some of the choices they made in that book, especially in regards to the main villain, her uncle, and everything, how it went, and retreading some stuff like sibling type drama from season 1. But season 3, I would probably have to say, is my favorite season. It's definitely my favorite antagonist, villain, big bad, whatever you want to call it, and probably had my favorite character moments overall. There was a little more of Team Avatar together in that season, and some of the character developments, but by this point, the characters were in a state that I preferred, I guess, or that was, you know, had been building up. Like Korra, for example, you know, in season 1, she's very kind of bullheaded, and she's always like she's a waterbender, so she's trying to wash over everything, every problem. There's little things, and then even she's immature to a point, coming in like thinking she knows everything or thinking she can already take over, butting heads with Tenzin. That was a big part of the first book. And then by the time we're at season 3, though, she's more in control of things. She's a little more mature, and but she still retains she's still the same character. Like, she does think she can handle everything. She is always willing to jump right in there and take control, or try to. Then we see what happens with season 4, which I would say started out very strong for me. I kind of mentioned this in my recap of the finale just now on this video the other day when I actually said it, but it did become a little oversimplified, I think, by the end, whereas I really enjoyed the first couple episodes, especially with the time skip and then seeing where everything was and seeing all the political machinations going on. Then it became more simply, you know, just against Kuvira. She's taking over everything, dominating. But with Korra specifically, the character, she had to face these issues of like this whole PTSD storyline, which I did really like. It's probably one of my favorite elements of the show as a whole. I liked they went down that road because, like, she was even comparing herself to Kuvira in the finale. She didn't have the tragic backstory, or, you know, quote unquote tragic backstory of Kuvira and parents, you know, giving her away or whatever, abandoning her, or like something like Aang from the original series, being caught in the bubble, losing all his friends, everyone he knows, or Zuko and Katara losing their mom at a young age, and their father's away fighting war. Like Korra didn't have that stuff. She was kind of like a rich kid. Her father is the chief, and also because of that background, that does make a little more sense as to what her original character is like when she's 16 or whatever. But then she, like, realizing she can't control everything with the whole poisoning, losing a bunch of powers, it leads to her maturity as well. And like by the finale here, she does seem a lot more mature. Like speaking to Tenzin at the end there, he knows it as well. And I guess she kind of realizes the balance of things have to be, which is, I think, what book 4 was called as well, balance. So that makes sense. But yeah, to rank the seasons, I would probably say 3, 1, 4, 2. But who knows, there's no need to. People always love to rank things like seasons, including myself, I guess, but there's not really any reason for it, I suppose. But yeah, getting into other things I liked about the show, even though I did say I liked about the original, the overarching storylines and like the journey to somewhere specific with one kind of villain or one main group of enemies, I did like doing it with Korra with 4 books, 4 seasons, one main enemy each time, because they did go for, well, first of all, with Korra, they did ramp up the theming to more complex issues. I guess they're going for a slightly older audience as well than the original, so that would make sense. The character is a little bit older, Korra versus Aang, and I do like it. So each season kind of had a villain with a different kind of ideology, I guess. So like working backwards, season 4 was against fascism. Season 3 was against anarchy. So those were really obviously at odds directly. Season 2, I guess, was like religious fanaticism, I suppose, which would make season 1. What would season 1 be? Communism, maybe? Maybe it fits the least for my. Maybe season 1 fits the least for my ideology theory here. But no, I guess it is kind of like communism. Like a certain amount of people have all this power because they're benders. And then the movement then is to make everyone more equal. So yeah, I think that kind of works. So I like that whole element of the show. Like I even said with season 4, especially how it started, I was expecting it to even have show more political dealings sort of thing, which it didn't quite go there ultimately. But yeah. You know what, I had mentioned this in the recap too of the finale, but thinking about if they did do a 3rd series, which I really hope they do. I don't think there's any plans for it right now or anything, but like a 3rd animated series, bringing it even more to the future, I guess, like maybe more of like a analogous to present times, modern equivalent, and I guess it would be with the Earthbender avatar. And yeah, maybe we'll see how the democracy is going that Prince Wu is probably trying to enact with Korra and everyone else's help. But also maybe they would make it more for like young adults or adults, not even aimed at preteens or kids at all. That would be pretty cool, I think. Although maybe they shouldn't go all the way to like the modern age, like today, in terms of the equivalency. I don't know. It's like the avatar is going to be like on the internet, like I'm doing my avatar through the internet or something. Yeah, I don't. Maybe a YouTubing avatar wouldn't be good, but I don't know. They could make it like the 60s or something. But anyway, back to Korra. Other things I liked about the series overall, like going along with the little bit more complexity of issues. I like the whole element where they removed the bridge to past avatars for Korra. I thought that element was, I thought that was interesting and led to some different things. Like didn't make it so easy for the avatar. So I like that, and it leads to drama. And with Korra's character as well, I like that she wasn't as spiritual, certainly initially, but just in her character overall. So, but with the spiritual thing, they did go to the spirit realm or world a lot, which was cool too, especially like seeing Uncle Iroh there. So, and little cameos too. I think they handled the people from the original series fairly well, and like in their cameos, quote unquote, or whatever. They didn't overdo it at all. And bringing Toph's family in first, meaning them all first, before we before we met, re-met Toph as an old woman was pretty good too. So yeah, and then the Lin Su storyline I liked, which is also a big part of season 3, and also part of season 3 with getting the Airbenders back. I guess we're seeing why was maybe my favorite season, because I'm mentioning a lot of stuff from that. But the focus, even though this series was about the waterbender avatar, there's still a big focus on airbending, obviously, with Tenzin's family, with her initially having to learn airbending last. Like, that was the last one she was able to master. And then getting more airbenders into the world was interesting, too, especially with seeing the airbending combat. Because, again, in the original, it's just Aang is the only airbender, so it's not like airbenders either versus each other or just using, versus other people, a group of them, like in Korra. And that was some of the best kind of combat style that I really enjoyed from the series. And a lot of the fighting stuff overall was very good with this. And especially it's cool to see it like in this new setting, which was like the kind of 1920s or 30s aesthetic, with the Satomobiles and everything. So yeah, I guess that would pretty much wrap up my thoughts. I could definitely go a lot longer if this was like a podcast or something, or if I was talking back and forth with someone. Which is something I might consider doing someday if there's anyone, even if there's anyone listening or of my viewers or subscribers that would be interesting in something like that, like talking over the series more as a whole. That's a fan of it. I'm certainly not closing the book on Korra necessarily, even though I'm finished with the reactions. So, and there's probably something more I'll think about like tomorrow and be like, I wish I would have brought that up. But it is what it is. But overall, really happy I watched it. It was a good effort by the creators, I think, especially given maybe some restrictions they had. Didn't quite have the overall cohesive story or the payoff that the original had, but still good nonetheless. And hopefully there will be more of this whole Avatar world in the future, because like the whole setup of the world is one of the best things about both series, certainly. So yeah, that's going to do it for this. Thanks, everyone who watched my reactions to Korra. Please do keep leaving comments or anything like that. Do check out my next Car Tuesday reaction, whatever that may be. And I'm going to be up out of here. I'm going to leave the Avatar state for now. Peace.
But I honestly don't know what else to say.